Hello ladies and jellyfish. It was inevitable to me that at some point the Disney figures would get leaked, and it seems like it's happened today. I was on Twitter this morning when I just woke up, and I came across a tweet by Doctor Who and the Mid-Journey, which was the leaked Disney viewing figures. Now, for those of you who don't know, BBC released their viewing figures every single week to the shows that were airing that week, and Doctor Who was doing okay. It wasn't doing badly. In the current TV climate, it was actually doing quite well, but compared to previous Doctor Who, it was the lowest they've ever been. But you have to take into consideration that some people would have been viewing on Disney, and now we have these figures, sort of. This comes from a Twitter account. This could be fabricated. It looks real, but just take everything with a pinch of salt. We don't actually know if these are real. So we start with the Star Beast, which has 8.37 million viewers on BBC One, and then 2.14 million viewers on Disney. Now, we don't have anything to compare this to, because Disney never ever release their viewing figures for any of their shows, and it seems from what the comments are saying on this post that we've never had a Disney leak viewing figures before, which sort of makes me think this might not be true, but we'll keep watching anyway. The 60th specials, to be fair, they all got over 1 million on Disney Plus, and then they all averaged around 8 million on BBC One as well, so they did very, very well. But then the Church on Ruby Road took a significant drop on Disney. It still averaged the 8 million that the 60th anniversary's got. Shooting Out was first episode and Millie Gibson's debut episode. The Church on Ruby Road got 886,000 viewers on Disney, which is obviously less than 1 million, which is not great. You know, it's not great. But it's still averaging the million. You can still round the 60 specials and the Church on Ruby Road to make about 1 million. Then we have season 1, which is Space Babies. The first episode got just under 6 million on BBC One, and then it got 1.43 million on Disney Plus, which obviously isn't great. It's better than the Church on Ruby Road, but compared to the 60th anniversaries, this is nothing. But for a debut episode, I'd guess that this is okay. You know, 1.5 million views on the streaming site. It might not be as good as they were hoping it to be, but I don't think you could call this a failure just yet. The Devil's Cord, 4.59 million viewers on BBC One and 1.21 million on Disney Plus. So I think people were giving it another go, because obviously these two episodes dropped at the same time. I think people were giving them a go. They were like, okay, maybe episode 1, Space Babies, as we know, wasn't like a 10/10 perfect episode. So maybe people went, okay, well, Space Babies wasn't for me, but let's see, The Devil's Cord seems okay. And it seems that The Devil's Cord put a lot of people off, and maybe the combination of Space Babies and Devil's Cord put people off, because Boom comes in at our lowest yet for Disney, still averaging 4 million on BBC One, but on Disney 762,000 people watched it, which is the lowest so far, which is a shame. I feel like if they aired Boom and Space Babies back to back rather than The Devil's Cord, that maybe would have impacted them slightly better. 73 Yards next week on BBC One was 4.63 million, and then on Disney it was 1 million, which goes obviously ups it straight back up to the million. I think this is because of the hype around it and how so many people were saying it was good and how it generated so much content, literally generated content. Dot and Bubble comes in at the lowest for BBC One so far with 3.82 million and just under 1 million on Disney. So I'd say they're still averaging 1 million. So, you know, it's not bad, but I think Russell and Co probably promised they'd get more than this. But just under 1 million for Dot and Bubble. Same with Rogue. Rogue got 922k on Disney, and on BBC One it got just under 4 mil. The Legend of Ruby Sunday got just under 4 mil with a 938k viewing figures on Disney Plus. Now, Empire of Death gets 3.92 million, so just under 4 mil. The average is about 4 or 5 mil on BBC One, but on Disney, the lowest figures so far for Empire of Death with 656,000 viewers. I think this is because of the Sutekh reveal. So many people were like, I've invested my time into this series, and they're just throwing in a random villain that I've never heard of. And like, doesn't make any sense to anyone who hasn't seen it. I don't personally agree with that. I think Russell did a good job with reinventing Sutekh as the god of death. You don't need to know who Sutekh is, you just need to know he's the god of death. That's scary enough. But, you know, maybe people didn't like that, and I'm assuming so because of the viewing figures. Then Christmas 2024, Joy to the World got 6.5 million views on BBC One, and then on Disney Plus got 613,000, which is, again, a new low, and the lowest of this entire era. From what I can see so far. Then April 12th, 2025, we got the Robot Revolution, which got 4 million on BBC One, which was actually slightly higher than the back end of season 1. But on Disney Plus, it got 615,000, which is the second lowest behind Empire of Death. These figures aren't great. Now, that's all we have. We don't have the rest of season 2, but I can assume because they didn't renew instantly and didn't renew for a while at the end, they probably didn't get better. I don't know if they got worse. They might have got slightly better than 600k, but I don't think they got good enough for Disney to recommission. Now, I've got a few thoughts on this. First of all, remember, this is, like, could be fabricated. This isn't fact from Disney. This is just from what we've seen. What I will say is, if this is the case, and let's say Russell and Co. said, we'll get you 2 million viewers every week guaranteed with the series, which is, I think is a fair thing. That's probably what they said, just speculation. I think if I was in their boat, I'd probably promise that as well. You'd think, wouldn't you? You'd think bringing Tennant back and starting this new era for a new generation, starting from season 1, you'd get 2 million every week on Disney+. You'd think that. So my guess is they said that. If that's the case, then why did Disney take so long to say no? Disney could have said no as soon as season 2 finished airing, and they could have probably got a Christmas special for us in 2025. They didn't. And that sort of discredits this list for me, because if they were promised more, and like if they were promised 1 million, then they could have recommissioned, because from what we're seeing here, like the 1 million was still the average, I'd say, like, you know, roughly. So they would have recommissioned, I think. So the fact they didn't recommission either puts this list to wrong, or just proves that Disney were a pain to work with. Make up your own mind, and again, this is all speculation, so who bloody knows. This whole streaming era sort of is dying out. I think this came a little bit too late. Maybe if the Disney deal came on like series 12, we'd be in a completely different situation right now. Well, we definitely would, but maybe it'd be a better situation. Who knows? Yeah, this isn't great. And again, I mentioned briefly earlier, but Disney have never ever released any of their viewing figures, so we don't know how this relates, or how this correlates to other shows on Disney, like the Marvel shows and stuff like that. But I think the fact that we didn't get recommissioned, well, is it a bad thing? Because most Disney Plus shows only last 1 or 2 seasons. So were Disney just like, well, we've pumped our money into these 2 seasons and now we're going to back away? Potentially. These viewing figures don't seem high, but we have nothing to compare it to. So before people in the comments are like, told you, Doctor Who's woke, it gets no viewers, let's just wait out. First of all, find out if this is real. We might get official confirmation saying, yeah, the leaks going around aren't real. And second of all, if this actually compares to any other shows, because we don't know how The Mandalorian performed. We don't know how, I don't watch Disney Plus, how the latest Star Wars and Marvel shows, Star Wars on here, I don't know. The latest Marvel shows and stuff like that, we don't know how they perform, so we cannot compare it just yet. But what I will say is, if these are true and they were promised higher viewing figures, maybe if they promised lower viewing figures, we'd be in a different place. We don't know, we're just the viewers. At the end of the day, thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. I cover Doctor Who stuff on here all the time. News, leaks, theories, the lot. And this year's going to be a big one. The 2026 Christmas special starts filming soon, from what I've heard, potentially. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed rest of your day, and goodbye.